This is the limitless Keith Lee.
This is Brody King.
This is Angel Garza.
Will Ospreay.
Hornswoggle.
Pentagon Jr.
The villain, Marty Scurll.
The Mexican Rey Fenix.
King Ricochet.
Concrete Rose, Sunny Kiss.
And I'm here to ask you to stop what you're doing, take just one moment, and bask in the glory of the busted wide open.
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 Boston Wide Open.
Busted wide open podcast.
You're listening to the Busted Wide Open podcast, dropping the elbow on the hottest topics in sports entertainment and the world of professional wrestling. With your hosts, Nick Howell and Sir Ian Dangerous. Coming to you from the Orbital Jigsaw Network Arena in sunny Southern California. Welcome everybody to BWO Live, coming to you from Twitch. This is it's not an episode. This is our recap of WWE's Table, Ladders, and Chairs pay-per-view that we just finished watching. My name is Nick Howell.
And I am Sir Ian Dangerous, and yes, indeed, Nick, we just finished watching the apocalyptic climax of Tables, Ladders, and Chairs.
Of 2020, frankly.
The final pay-per-view of 2020. And a very appropriate last scene to send us on our way in this most apocalyptic of years. Yes, Nick, we need to talk about all the things that went down just now on TLC. Several title matches, a title change, a big return, and lots of fire. So much fire, Nick. Let's talk about all of that. But of course, first we gotta do a little business, and then we can get to the stop that.
Okay,
stop it. I can see you over there wetting your lips.
Wetting my whistle.
Let's do some business.
Yes. First and foremost, I have to do some catching up because things were lively once again offline, and as we were in the lobby getting ready to come on air. We got another offline donation in the tip jar, Sir Ian Dangerous. This time from Josh S. and Heather M., who tipped $50 in the tip jar.
Oh, God, you guys rock.
You guys are killing us with the kindness this year. They said tomorrow is our 15-year anniversary. First and foremost, congratulations to you guys. That is fan-freaking-tastic. Congratulations to you guys.
15 years.
15 years. And because we have been a lot more fortunate than others this year, we decided to give this gift to those who helped make our year a little brighter. Have a great break. You guys deserve it.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so
Amazing.
much.
Thank you. Congratulations again.
Yes.
Very much appreciated. Thank you.
Jesse O'Connor gifted a tier 1 sub to Adam MN, maybe Minnesota. Nice. Adam MN. Adam, make sure you thank Jesse for your tier 1 sub. Thank you for that very much, Jesse. Bryan tipped 100 bits and said for Nick's obsession with tiny nipples. We're going to have to talk about that one and probably explain that one for the listeners that weren't in the Discord chat.
Yes. Nick went on a tangent. If you're not in Discord during the live shows, you're missing out on things like Nick being obsessed with tiny nipples.
Yes.
We'll explain that more as the show goes on. But yes, very true. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much, Bryan, for the 100 bits. Dieter5268 gifted 5, count them, 5 tier 1 subs. Oh, dang. My God, dude. Thank you so much. Craig McGee, IXK, Xander Gabriel, Real Mr. Pickle, Jaywalk, all got a gifted sub from Dieter. Thank you very much, guys. If you got a gifted sub from Dieter, make sure you say thank you very much. Really appreciate that, Dieter. Thank you, man. And finally, Kyle gifted 100 or threw in 100 bits. Said, Randy, we are 11 days away from New Year's Eve, and you being able to set things on fire with no consequence. Jesus Christ, first time in a long time I can say I saw something on WWE TV I haven't seen before.
Something they teased on Lucha Underground, but never actually did because of how extreme it was.
Right.
And it just happened. But of course, we will talk about that.
Yes.
We will talk about what just happened later on in this show, in the main event.
Yes, guys, as we mentioned, the Discord was lively tonight. I know we made the move. I know it was a little bit of upfront one-time work to get moved over, but it was just as lively as it ever is, and I thank you guys all for putting up with a little bit of tech headache to get moved over. Welcome to the Orbital Jigsaw community, first and foremost. The greater, larger Orbital Jigsaw community. Please mingle. look around the other sections, enjoy, partake in what you will, or if you just want to hang out in BWO, that's totally fine too. But make sure you get into the Discord. You can find links to that down in the description below. I need to update that, by the way, to the new link while I'm thinking about it. Also, follow us over on Twitter and Instagram at BWO Podcast. Subscribe over at youtube.com/bustedwideopen. And patrons, thank you guys so much for not only an amazing level of support that you give, but for an amazing yet another year. We're going into what will be our third year of doing Patreon, and it has been a blast. All kinds of good stuff over there for if you want some exclusives such as bonus episodes, audio-only versions of every single show so you can listen to them on demand. You can always listen for free or watch for free here on Twitch, but you can get those over on Patreon, get copies of the show notes, send in patron listener questions every single week, and you can get ready to play in the Patron Pick'ems Challenge that will be happening again in about 6 weeks when it comes time for the Royal Rumble. So we got that coming up to look forward to. So patreon.com/BWO. Get signed up today. But yes, Ian, we had a banger of a pay-per-view to close out the year, and there is much to discuss. So let's head over and talk about what went down on tables, ladders, and chairs.
Well, before the show, as we usually do, we had the pre-show. And as we usually do in the pre-show, we had a match that means very little in the bigger scheme of things, except this one was not announced till the day of the show, and it felt kind of thrown together.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of people that were just on the same team. All of a sudden, 8-man tag team match. Daniel Bryan, Otis, Chad Gable, and Big E arbitrarily versus Shinsuke Nakamura, Cesaro, Baron Corbin, and Sami Zayn. And all SmackDown pre-show match. And you'd think, looking at all that you'd be building some stories coming out of this. But really, the only thing I could pick out of this, Nick, with all the kerfuffle, was that Daniel Bryan was barely in this. Was he even in this? In it for like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And then Otis and Chad Gable got into some shenanigans with Cesaro and Shinsuke. And then it really came down to Sami Zayn and Big E. Sami finally sneaking in the match at the end and getting put away with the big ending while the announcers scream that Big E has pinned the Intercontinental Champion. Now, the only thing that made this even more relevant was later on the show, Sami started screaming at Big E backstage, and Big E went from yucking it up with R-Truth to getting real serious and saying, keep playing around and see what happens. And we will see what happens because it was announced we will get an Intercontinental Championship match between Sami Zayn and Big E.
Intercontinental.
Thank you. Next Friday on Christmas on SmackDown. So this match, as far as I can tell, Nick, was basically a way to build a Big E and Sami Zayn match. Do you feel like it was worth it? Was it a way to get the rest of the guys a paycheck, or just was there something we were building between Otis? Because, I mean, obviously we had Otis and Nakamura last week, and Otis won. But now it looks like we're building more between them. Does that mean we're seeing Baron Corbin and Daniel Bryan? What did you make of this match, or was it just a throwaway?
It felt like it was there to build, because there was a moment where Sami Zayn was selling on the outside, avoiding everything, and he thought he was going to be the opportunist that he is, run in and get a quick pin. Big E went, yanked him off, and then that we had a moment where there was going to be, there was a face-off between Big E and Sami Zayn. Sami just trying to scramble away from him. So we had that confrontation happen in the ring, and then we went backstage, and we had all of that stuff that you just went over happen. So I think this was all to do, yes, get bunch of other guys a paycheck for a pay-per-view to close out the year. Congratulations, you get a little Christmas bonus. And then, we get to build towards, would I have liked to have seen a proper build and an Intercontinental Championship match defended? Intercontinental Championship match defended on TLC? Absolutely. Do I feel like it'll be muddied if they try to do it at Royal Rumble? Yeah, because all the hype's going to be around the Royal Rumble matches, not other title defenses. So, yeah, this would have been a good opportunity to put a really good title defense on this. So, I'm not terribly mad at it. Take your time, build it, but at the same time, I wouldn't have been mad at it either if they had it. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know what to think.
I mean, you could argue. I don't really think the ratings are going to be very good on the Christmas show, but maybe they're trying to build some sort of interest in the Christmas show by having an Intercontinental Championship match.
Maybe.
So
maybe.
With that, I can't really blame them for that. And that's honestly, it's a solid match. I wish they'd done a little bit more build, but I felt like having Big E turn off the comedy and turn on the serious here was the right thing to do.
Yes.
Show that he gets serious, etc. So, yeah, at the end of the day, not mad at it. This was a just it was a pre-show match, prototypical pre-show match. Bunch of guys jumping around. Good guys win at the finish. Exciting for the show. Anticipation, appetizing, whatever.
Yep.
It was what it was, and they built more from it later on the show, so it actually did make it relevant. So,
Well, in the time that we were going over that, chat went a little bit nuts. They completed, they have 125% completed a level 5 hype train already. And I am sorry to butt in, but I am going to have to catch up because holy...
Go for it. We haven't even gotten to the main show yet. It's perfect time.
Okay, let me do a... Kyle threw in 100 bits, said, Nick is Ben Stiller and Discord is Robert De Niro regarding Roman's tiny nipples. Funny. Thank you, Kyle. Will threw in 200 bits, says, I have tiny nipples, fucker. You want to milk me? Yes, exactly. And then Uncle Greg. Uncle Greg threw in 5,500 bits. 5,000 bits. 5,500 bits. It said, happy holidays, fellas. Thank you for continuously getting through tough days. Continue to stay healthy.
Thank you so much, Uncle.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Uncle Greg.
Thank you, Uncle Greg.
Man, just, oh. And then Kyle gifted 5 tier 1 subs.
Yes.
To DJ 10-Man Noodles, Gunsmoke, I thought it was CJ, I think it's how you say it. And then Simdoc. If you got a gifted sub from Kyle Cotton, thank you very much. Or be sure to thank Kyle. Kyle, thank you for those gifted subs, man. Much appreciated. And Jesse threw in 100 bits for the hype train. Woo! And we did it. Oh my goodness. You guys rock. Holy smokes. We completed another level 5 hype train. You guys are absolutely amazing. Oh, wow. The love is raining down tonight, Sir Ian Dangerous.
Yes.
Okay, so we had the kickoff show out of the way, so to speak.
Yes.
And
yeah, the love was raining down. You know what else was raining down? The fists of AJ Styles on the head of Drew McIntyre, which was the match that started off the TLC pay-per-view. Drew McIntyre versus AJ Styles in a TLC match for the WWE Championship belt.
Were you surprised they pulled the trigger on this to pull the curtain on the show?
So that was the thing. We had actually had a prop bet.
Yep.
Whether this or Roman and KO would close the show because there's 2 title matches.
Yep.
And we were both wrong.
Yep.
And in hindsight, they were right. This was the right match to open the show. KO and Roman going later was the right call. And in fact, there was almost no... I actually have 0 issues with the way they booked this show. Every match was right where it should be.
Yep.
I've got no comments on that. Perfectly booked in terms of where the matches went, especially for what the matches were. And this was more this was a different match than the other TLC match. We'll put it out there right there that they did distinguish this from the Roman and Kevin Owens match.
Sure.
Very different stories. This was more about AJ taking out Drew's leg and Drew trying to survive even after Miz decided he was going to cash in because AJ and Drew had taken each other out, and it became a triple threat, and then things got chaotic, and Morrison tried to take out Omos after he picked Miz off of the ladder when Miz was slowly climbing up trying to claim his prize.
Right.
And Morrison took a chair to the back of Omos, and Omos did one of the nicest no-sells I've seen on a chair shot in a while.
It's also a very gimmicked chair because it split into about 300 pieces.
Very gimmicked chair. I don't care. The visual was beautiful.
It was fantastic.
And almost doing the slow turnaround and then serial killer stalking Morrison back to the back. Morrison doing the girl falling down in a cornfield thing when she's running from the serial killer. Amazing. And so Omos and Morrison, take themselves out. And we're down to Drew, AJ, and Miz at the end. Ultimately, Drew mans up, takes out AJ, takes out Miz, climbs up, gets his belt back. Drew retains. But was this what you wanted out of this match, Nick? Did you get what you wanted out of this match? Do you feel like this match delivered what you wanted?
I was a little disappointed with Act 1 and Act 2, but I think Act 3 landed the plane and delivered. Is it what you asked me specifically? Is it what I wanted? No, this is not what I would have envisioned. It's hard to say. I would absolutely love to see a straight-up wrestling match between Drew McIntyre and AJ Styles.
you hit something right there. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Is I was looking forward to AJ versus Drew, and Act 1 was AJ versus Drew, and what we got was Drew dominates until AJ picks his leg, and then AJ focuses on the leg, and they're both on the ground forever, and AJ like wraps his leg around the ladder at one point, and the calf crusher and all this stuff, and like it was fine, but it was AJ versus Drew in the Act 1 of the escalation of this match. We never got to see AJ and Drew really have a match, and maybe that's fine because it does save that match for later if we ever get it.
Well,
or
it's a
if
215-pound man versus a 265. He's got 50 pounds on him. So
Yeah.
The TLC stipulation and the weapons are kind of the equalizer between to make up that difference. What I'm saying is I would have
Shawn
liked to have
versus
seen just a
Taker,
straight
man.
up. I would have liked to have seen just a straight up wrestling match, no TLC, and maybe we do that again in the future. Who knows?
Right.
But I would like to see what that looks like, and I hope we get it one day. But I'm not mad at
Agreed.
this. It wasn't.
Agreed.
It was a little slow in the beginning. I got concerned when Drew was so hot at the beginning. I was like, oh no.
Yeah. And Act 2 is a little choppy, a little going from spot to spot and not very fluid.
Yeah.
But overall, the match was, I'll give it a fine. It was fine.
Yeah.
It did what it needed to do. Now, how about Miz cashing in? Once again, here we are with a briefcase put on somebody, and they don't know what to do with it. And we said when Otis got it, hey, this is great. But especially once Roman came back, we said, what are you going to do with Otis? You can't have him cash in because no one's going to take this title off of Roman. And then Otis looks like a fool for losing his cash in. And you can't cash in on Drew. So what do you do? And we said, well, put it on Miz. Miz can lose the cash in. And that's exactly what happened. We figured Miz at some point was going to lose the cash in. And here he did. He lost the cash in.
I thought it was interesting that they converted it to a triple threat match because he cashed in so early.
He cashed in on a TLC match. That's what would happen. If it was a 6-man match, it'd become a 7-man match.
Were they ultimately protecting Otis here?
They did protect Otis. Otis was absolutely protected because he lost it through scurrilous means, not because he cashed in like a fool. And Miz can cash in like a fool, and it's not going to hurt him. That was the whole thing that we were saying. But was this the way to have Miz cash in like a fool and get it out of the way? At this point, did it just feel like we just got to get this over with? Like just pull the Band-Aid off? Because we'd heard reports this week that Vince had creative look at all the different ways. Like, come to me with all the different ways Miz can cash in this briefcase, whether it's a loss or a win. And apparently it was all, quote, crap. Nothing was good. And this is what we ended up getting.
And we saw him on the kickoff show, and I thought that was going to be their moment, and we weren't going to get a cash in tonight. I was actually surprised when they did cash in.
Right. Well, and in hindsight, I'm sitting here going, this feels like the least of all the evils, and let's just pull the Band-Aid off. But that begs the question, does WWE have a Money in the Bank problem? Because we're now 3 years in a row, off the top of my head, maybe more. Four. Corbin, Braun,
Sheamus,
Brock, Sheamus
in 16, I think.
No, 16 was Corbin, 17. Let's see, or was 17? I have to go back and look at actually which year was which. I know Seth was 15, WrestleMania 30,
31, yeah.
31. Thank you. But since then, it seemed like it's been downhill.
Yeah, Seth was kind of the last one that's mattered.
Right. Corbin fails to cash
in.
Brock didn't need it. Braun didn't need it. Neither of those were interesting. And then Otis, they have this whole kerfuffle with Miz.
Now, if they wanted to save this, they could.
And I'm not talking about successes in like successful cash-ins. I'm talking about, successes in someone. It elevates the person who gets it, and it's an interesting story. Granted, we did get Brock Party, which was a thing.
Beast in the Bank was fantastic.
You're saying it's fantastic?
Him putting the speakers in it and jamming to it was fantastic.
Yeah, Beast in the Bank.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a thing.
I don't want to discount Carmela's, as conspicuous as those wins were. She did hold on to it for a minute, and she did make a big deal out of it. She did get some.
That was a proper cash-in.
Yeah.
That was a proper cash-in. It was someone who otherwise probably wouldn't have gotten a shot at it. let's not talk about how she got it. Let's talk about what she did with it once she had it.
Right.
You elevated somebody who you wanted to elevate. They got a chance. They cash it in on someone who they probably couldn't have been booked to beat at that point. So I thought that was a good cash in. That was a good use of it. But what do you do going forward? Do they need to start having a better idea? I mean, obviously they were like, okay, we want to push Otis. Let's give him the briefcase, and at some point we'll make him the champ. Was that really what they were thinking? Because if so, they weren't looking forward to what they were going to do with Drew and Roman.
Now, here's how they could redeem this. They never actually opened the briefcase, signed a contract, anything. Then they don't really do that anymore, right? So what they could end up doing is pulling a fast one on us here. And when they get to the point where they actually open the briefcase, Miz didn't actually lose it because Otis's lunch had been swapped out, and the contract was actually still in the little lunch pail, not the actual briefcase.
But again, the problem was, why does Miz still have, like, what are you going to do with Miz and cashing in?
I don't know.
Right? You've got to, this year, you can't have the titles come off of Drew and Roman.
It's got to be an opportunistic thing. You can't put him in a triple threat match with Drew McIntyre and AJ Styles legit and expect Miz to win against those two.
It felt like it was going to be opportunistic. They were both laid out at the time. He was going to climb up the ladder and win. But the point I'm trying to make here is, this was a way just to get the title, to get the briefcase gone and done with, because they had no other thing to do with it. It meant that this Money in the Bank this year was irrelevant.
Yep.
They didn't have a good plan for it.
Yep.
And that's what I'm talking about. Right?
Agreed.
Braun and Brock, you can book into a title program. You don't need to have them cash in a Money in the Bank briefcase to win it. Otis is a guy who would have been a surprising champ. Miz winning it off of Drew would have been surprising and interesting and compelling if you'd found a reason and whatnot. But also Miz could have been the fall guy if you had no plans to cash in on your major champions right now, which we suspected they didn't, and sure enough. So in that case, why have a Money in the Bank briefcase every year if you don't know what you're going to do with it, if you have no other plan? I would argue even Seth's year. They didn't know they were going to have Seth do that at WrestleMania until they booked themselves into a corner at WrestleMania.
That's true. Yeah, with Roman and Brock. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the thing that made this Miz cash-in made me think of was, well, they saved their asses by making the Money in the Bank briefcase irrelevant for this entire year.
It's a good discussion. It's worth thinking about. It's worth kind of pontificating and speculating on, because at the end of the day, they have to decide if they're going to commit to some kind of long-term storyline that's ultimately going to backtrack and decide who's going to win the Money in the Bank. Then they've got to see that through.
Right.
You can't just be hot-shotting shit every single week.
No.
And doing it, making it up as you go along, because there's got that. If you have a plan in June at Money in the Bank to do something in December or April for, WrestleMania, you've got to decide that back at like the previous WrestleMania.
And that's not what WWE does. They hot shot like crazy. And the counter argument, of course, here is that it's good to have failed cash-ins from time to time, because then you don't know what they're going to do. So there is an upside to this, but still in the moment you sit there and go, poor Miz, poor Money in the Bank briefcase. Kind of lame.
Yeah. Let me catch up real quick. Kyle resubbed it. I guess he gifted 5 and didn't give one to himself. Kyle with the resub. Thank you very much, man. Welcome back for 5 months. One more month for that bucket of chicken. Oh, the buckets of chicken are going to start rolling in January. I'm so excited about it. That'll be our 6th month. He also threw in 100 bits. He says the Becky title Money in the Bank is the most interesting thing done with Money in the Bank since Seth.
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, their hand was forced. What would they have done if that situation had not arisen?
Which one?
The fact that Becky was like, "Oh, I'm gonna have a baby. The title's in the briefcase. Okay, bye." You weren't having a Money in the Bank match for a contract. You were having it for the title. Surprise! I'm out.
Yeah, vacant gifts. Asuka cashed in on vacant.
No, Asuka didn't even have to cash in. Becky was like, "Open your briefcase. Surprise!
Yeah.
I'm out. I'm gonna go pop out a little man." So yeah, it was. I don't know. This match did feel a little bit like lame duck December. It underscored for me how December can kind of be a lame duck month for WWE right before we get to the Rumble and like WrestleMania kicks off. We have these feuds that really lead kind of nowhere. And if you don't have an absolute banger of a match, hint, hint later in the show, then it can just feel kind of like it's just there.
Yeah.
One match that we were hoping was going to not just be there and was actually going to be a good match was Sasha Banks versus Carmela. And we've kind of crapped all over this build, frankly, Nick, because it was a very diva-esque build with lots of champagne and, oh my God, you're so not on my level.
Yeah.
Vocal fry. Vocal fry and Valley Girl accent.
Valley Girl upspeak. Yeah.
But thankfully, we were saying, look, this is one absolutely excellent wrestler and one very competent wrestler, one wrestler who can step up her game when she's put in big matches, and that's Carmela. Maybe we'll get a good match on Sunday. Maybe this will be redeemed by these two going out there, beating the crap out of each other, having some good moves, and having a good match. And by God, they did it.
Yeah, going in skeptically optimistic, I was very pleasantly surprised.
Yep, exactly. Not an all-time classic, but you know what? Damn solid match.
Well done, ladies.
Damn solid match. They, in some parts very technical, in some parts it was nice and hard hitting.
Yeah, a couple of those reversal sequences were really nice.
Really, really nice and tight. Mela looked like she knew what she was doing in there. We even got a little bit of interference outside from her sommelier, Reginald, who ate a great Meteora at one point. But yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised by this match. I had high hopes for it, and we ended up getting a good match. Did it overperform for you, Nick, or did it give you exactly what you wanted?
Both. It's what I had hoped it would be, and it was going to require it to overperform my expectations to get there, and I got both. So,
nice.
And it especially delivered in the end. I was a little bit of eye-rolly that here's Carmela again with another guy helping her achieve stuff. But, if we look back at heels, that's kind of par for the course. I'm not too bent out of shape about that. I kind of like the fact that it's a sommelier, and he's serving champagne with the towel draped over his arm and all bougie like that. So I chuckle at it, just, in a weird way.
He looks like Dio Madden's first form,
right,
before he transforms,
right.
Like before you put him in water, you put him in water, and he expands.
Yeah, he dehydrated Dio Madden.
Exactly.
But no, I dug this match. It overperformed what my expectations were, frankly, very low, unfortunately.
Yes.
And I thought this would be one of those break matches in the middle of all of the chaos of the other 2 or 3 that we were going to have on this show. And it over-delivered those expectations. I'm very pleasantly surprised with how this turned out. And I mean,
Same.
Sasha, when she wrenches on that bank statement,
that
folds people in half, good Lord.
And Mela's flexible as hell, too. So, the finish looked great. I was very happy that Dehydrated Madden wasn't involved in the finish. And ultimately the fact that it came down to Sasha Banks just powering up at the end, kicking out of a couple of big Carmela moves, maneuvering out of her finisher and getting her own, cranking, as you say, her own finisher onto Carmela to win. Sasha needs wins like these. This is what she should have been doing years ago.
Yeah.
When you first wanted to build her. If you wanted to build Sasha as a badass, this is how you do it. This is how Sasha backs up her talk, is by winning like this. So all around, good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very happy with that.
Yep.
Now the question is, that the feud continue. Do we get more of this on the road to Rumble, or does someone else come along to challenge Sasha, and if so, who? I think this keeps going.
I think this keeps going. I don't think we're done with this yet. This is a big re-debut, repackaging of Mela, the untouchable Carmela, instead of the Fabulous. So she's ditched the Enzo-esque gimmick, and now we've got this new sort of diva-esque gimmick.
Still had leopard print. Still a leopard print tonight.
Sure. Yeah, and that's still all the rage in fashion, so that's still going to be around. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I think it's going to continue. I don't think we've seen the last of Mela. I'd love for some other ladies to continue to get opportunities like this, which I'm going to have some things to say about in a couple of matches.
Oh, I bet. Oh, I just bet. That being said, if they do continue this feud, I'm hoping we get better TV segments en route to the next match, but I will be looking forward to the next match after this, at least.
Yep.
Next up, we had the Hurt Business versus the New Day for the Raw Tag Team Championships. This has been building for a while. Nick, I think we pretty much called this for the last month and a half.
Yep.
Hurt Business drops a couple matches to New Day. We said they did this feud in reverse, where they lost the matches to New Day, and then started going into singles matches, strangely enough, and proving that they were worthy to get another title match with the New Day. And then they got another title match. And then they beat them. So they kind of did it in reverse. But whatever, here they are. And they beat New Day. Straight up. Kofi got isolated in the ring at the end of the match. Shelton Benjamin looked like he was ready to pounce. Cedric tags himself in. And he gives him the big lumbar check. 1, 2, 3. Cedric steals the glory, but gets the win for the Hurt Business, who then go and celebrate about it with no real selling about wondering about their boy there, Cedric, being over-eager. So two things. One, I want to talk about New Day real quick and then get back to Hurt Business. Did New Day look kind of out of their depth here? Because, I mean, Hurt Business kind of they rolled right over him.
I think that was the point. I think that, well, yes and no. There was one spot where Cedric was climbing to the top of the turnbuckle. Kofi was up on Shelton's shoulders, and they were going to do a high spot where Cedric was going to come off the top. And you could see Kofi saying, "Come on, dude. Come on, go." Almost like they were not sandbagging him, but just like they weren't operating at the pace that New Day's normally operating at, which makes them so good. Right? So, and they were dragging a little bit.
It was weird because you had Cedric outside for the first half of the match, and then Xavier out for most of the second half of the match. So the most of the match was a 2-on-1. Yeah, and that kind of I think hurt the tag team aspect of the match.
I loved MVP being a cheerleader outside and a coach just yelling. You could
drink
hear
some
him.
water. Drink some water.
Yeah, hydrating.
Refresh yourself.
Hydrating Cedric
get out
in front of commentary.
Refresh yourself. Yeah,
fantastic. It felt like that they were dragging a little bit. And I think what put New Day off, I think in sort of kayfabe terms, you could say, is it threw New Day off. The pace was a lot slower than they're used to, and probably led to it being a lot more hard hitting and a lot more not their style of how they typically get over. Or their opponents.
It's being pointed out in the chat right now, and you guys are right. We have to mention it. Shelton Benjamin. Hold on. Excuse me. Shelton Benjamin. Doing things that are still freakish 40 years old. My God. Kofi Kingston jumps up in the air off the ground, and Shelton is lying on the ground, and he jumps up and catches Kofi on his shoulders in a powerbomb position from the ground. What the hell, man? That's unbelievable. And then he goes for a superplex on Kofi. I don't know if you noticed this. When he went for the superplex, he kind of missed the grip at first, and so he went for a double underhook, and he barely got that sucker in. But he just whipped his arm in there, got that double underhook, and tossed Kofi. It was... I can't remember the last time I saw a double underhook superplex. Shelton Benjamin is your tag team champion. Yes. So
Hurt Business draped in gold.
Hurt Business draped in gold. All you need to do is make MVP a champion. Maybe he beats Drew McIntyre or R-Truth or something, becomes a champion. I'm just saying, dude, I like the fact that Hurt Business won here, but Cedric Alexander. Are they actually doing a long story for Cedric Alexander?
It looks like it.
Is it exciting? Because it looks like it's going in an interesting, like they're focusing on him as the interesting character.
It's kind of a rock star thing. You're getting your first little taste of fame. He's winning stuff a lot. He's in part of a successful group. He's surrounded by people that are supporting him. So he's the one he's drinking too much, that maybe he's experimenting with too many drugs, that get a little bit ahead of himself, right?
What?
I'm making the rock star analogy, right?
Oh, okay.
You're getting a little bit out of control.
Right. Cedric Alexander backstage with like his face in a mound of Coke before his match.
No.
I need to get up for the show. I need it, man. Back there doing downers afterwards.
Right.
Peanut butter and banana sandwiches.
My point is he's living that rock star life, and he thinks he's larger than life. So he
Big
thinks...
Swole calling him up. He's in the back. He's in the green room with all the groupies. Big Swole be like, "What are you doing? Who's in there?"
Right. Nothing, baby. Just go back. Go back to your company.
Nothing, baby. We're rocking and rolling over here.
No, but it feels like it's that kind of MO where he's getting a little bit ahead of himself. He's thinking he's bigger than his britches, and I think there's going to be somebody's going to check him, and I think it might actually be Lashley. So who knows? I'm interested to see if Lashley is going to defend that United States Championship anytime soon.
Riddle at Royal Rumble is the scuttlebutt.
Yep, that's what I'm thinking.
So, but yeah, I'm liking this. They're building a long-term story for Cedric Alexander, giving him character, giving him purpose, giving him something to do and somewhere to go. This is fantastic on every level. It's not something that they do in WWE often, is give someone a subtle character story to play long-term and tell the story in the ring with how you are booked. Mwah.
Love it.
Mwah, mwah. And it helps that he's on a team with 3 vets who can go back there and fight for him on it to keep that going.
Absolutely love it.
Yep. Do we need to catch up before we go on, or are we looking good?
Kyle threw in 100 bits. He says, is Hurt Business's Randy Orton?
Cedric is?
Cedric is Hurt Business's Randy Orton. I see. I missed that.
Could be.
Yeah.
Not mad at that. You got Ric Flair as MVP. Lashley is Triple H. Shelton is Batista. Or I guess, I don't know. You could switch those around. But yeah, not wrong. Not wrong. Got the suits.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at that.
They look great.
And you know what? It's funny because we were wondering if they were going to be the new Nation of Domination when they first started. And they almost, like this close. They had Farouk booked to pass the torch on the show. And they changed it the last second. I'm not mad with this being the new Evolution instead of the new Nation of Domination.
Agreed.
In fact,
I prefer
that's
it.
way better. I far prefer it. That's way better.
I like that they were able to do it on their own. We had to suffer through the Raw Underground stuff a little bit, and them being like pseudo bouncers and enforcers, which seemed a little silly, but it worked. Mostly because of MVP's mouth. Yeah, and they
just came in. Yeah.
But I like that. I like where they're at going into 2021. They are the dominant faction of WWE, and I am okay with that.
Hard stop.
Yep.
Agreed. Love it.
Yeah.
But you probably don't love the next match, Nick. I would imagine.
Well,
not just because Nia Jax was in it, teaming up with Shayna Baszler, but you also had Asuka facing off against them with a mystery partner. And Nick, before we reveal who this mystery partner was and what happened in this match, I'm going to ask you to play a little something.
Oh, I don't have it queued up.
About. Oh, you don't have it queued up?
No.
Oh, man.
I found it. It's about 45 minutes into the last episode.
Bummer.
When we were doing our pick'ems. I don't have it queued up. It wasn't that exciting anyway.
Okay. Well, what was exciting to me was that I asked you, Nick, what would you do if Charlotte Flair came back to team up with Asuka and they won the Women's Tag Team Championship? I think my exact question was, how loud would your head explode?
Yeah.
So, Nick, when Charlotte Flair was revealed as the hidden partner of Asuka, and she came out, and the two of them won the Women's Tag Team Championships tonight, how loud did your head explode?
Not very much, because it had been spoiled. Between Bryan, Bryan threw in 100 bits to remind us that he called it back on Tuesday. Yes,
Brian did.
He did.
Yep, he did.
Congratulations.
He did call it. Yep.
And then all of the rumors and speculation and everything around it, it just, like, if it had been kept so tight-lipped and under lock and key, and no mention of it, no speculation, no nothing. Like, there's no, and even countered it with, like, there's no way in hell it could possibly be Charlotte. And then Charlotte comes out, like, I might have been a little bit animated. This got no real reaction out of me because, frankly, it had just been spoiled. I was like, oh, well, all right.
So let's imagine that you weren't spoiled. And more the question I'm asking is, from a booking standpoint.
It makes no sense. Absolutely no sense whatsoever.
Okay, now this is what I was looking for.
Yeah.
This is what I was looking for because I know it's there in you. I know that you wanted to, like, in the middle of all this, after everything.
Well, I want to start with the good first.
Stay on night.
You want
to start with the good?
Give me a chance to qualify something first before I go on a little mini tirade. The idea of Asuka, Shayna Baszler, and Charlotte Flair in the ring at the same time is very exciting. The idea of having Asuka and Shayna or Shayna and Charlotte in matches for the next year is very enticing.
Yes.
We never properly got the Asuka. Remember, Asuka relinquished the championship in NXT, the NXT Women's Championship, and Shayna won it in those royales that they had, or the tournament. That's how she didn't really win it off of somebody. She won it from vacant. So the idea that we could have the match that we never got in NXT with two of the most dominant women's champions ever in NXT is very, very enticing. I think we've all wanted that since way back at, I think it was Backlash right after Mania. Baszler was coming out and like teasing, whoever wins the Raw Championship, I got next. Right? So that's on my radar. After the first half of the year that Charlotte had with Rhea Ripley and winning Money in the Bank, Royal Rumble earlier this year, that's very enticing as well. The only bad apple in this bunch is Nia Jax, who seemingly mostly has nothing to do. And the fact that we're spending equity and capital of Shayna Baszler to put her in a tag team with Nia Jax to do stunts like pairing Asuka and Charlotte Flair, who have a storied rivalry at this point. What in the are you doing?
May I quickly interject?
I'm done.
Okay.
Be my guest. Yes. I got it all out.
Okay, good.
Other than that, it was kind of a fun match, and it was fun to see Charlotte again, and congratulations, she's back. Whoop-de-doo. She's face again for the 327,000th time.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if she's ever face or heel. She's just always Charlotte.
Yeah.
But my, one thing, I'll counter one thing first. And I know that, you better zip up there because your bias is showing.
Imagine that.
Nia Jax, despite looking like Smo from Ornstein and Smo in Dark Souls in her outfit tonight, actually was flying around doing a lot of stuff. Go back and look at that match. Nia was in there doing some work. She was being in the right place a lot. She was doing some somersaults and some good selling. I was actually impressed with Nia Jax's work in this match. What was sad was that I felt that Shayna did not show off her best. She had some really nice joint manipulation stuff, but it seemed like everything's like she was slowing down Asuka and Charlotte, and I kept wanting her to speed up. And you know me, I'm a big Shayna fan.
It was only the beginning there when we had her and Asuka doing the grappling and the back and forth.
But there was a couple of times when Charlotte came in. She came in on a hot tag at one point, and I think it was actually her first tag coming in. Asuka was definitely like the I'm in danger.
She was reeling, yeah.
Yeah, she was reeling loud. Asuka, who else can play, the weak link in a hot tag, but to Charlotte, excuse me, who else but Asuka could play? Trying to figure out how to say this. Asuka is booked so strong normally that the only time she could play babyface in danger is if she's hot tagging to Charlotte. There we go. I got it out. It took me a second. A little. But the point is that when Charlotte did come in, she actually made Shayna speed up. I could see Shayna trying to. You could almost see her trying to catch up because she was moving so slowly. That was disappointing. And honestly, I was disappointed in the finish of this match where Shayna just ate a natural selection and got KO'd in one shot. It tells me what they think of Shayna.
Yeah.
And more, I'm being shown that the backstage only has, has a fairly dim view of Shayna in the bigger picture. She's mid-card at best, in their opinion, from how I'm seeing them protect her, or rather not protect her, and that's a damn shame. But what I want to discuss, Nick,
okay,
because I think most of what you were complaining about was kind of hashtag wrestling, in saying, well, I want it this way, I don't want it that way, I want to have these feuds and not these feuds.
Oh, there's more I'm bent out of shape about.
Okay, well that's I think what I'm going to touch on now, and that is Charlotte's back, and immediately as a champion, immediately as a tag team champion.
And who's the biggest loser of all that?
You tell me.
Lana, the person they've spent the last 3 to 4 months building.
Or Peyton Royce, or
Lacey Evans.
Lacey Evans is on SmackDown, but sure.
Dana and
Mandy. Yeah. I know. I guess Lacey is on Raw, isn't she?
Yes, she is.
Her and Peyton are two. Oh my God, poor thing. Jesus, no, that she really is in trouble. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is you have all of these incredibly talented women on Raw. Almost, I mean, SmackDown I feel like is very thin right now. Maybe you should trade them over to SmackDown or something. But here now on Raw, you've got Charlotte pushing every other woman down again, and we knew it was going to happen as soon as she came back.
I just thought it would happen at the Rumble. It would have been more effective to me at the Rumble.
Except that I think the plan is have Charlotte and Asuka enter into a feud over the next few months. Charlotte takes the title off of Asuka because now they're tied together. They're going to work together. And frankly, an Asuka-Charlotte tag team, I do like that. That sounds like fun. That sounds interesting. That could be some really gold television. But
I thought it would have
think
been hilarious if Charlotte would have turned on her immediately and just like hit her with the title. Drop the tag title on her face and say, "This
the
is
daughter
below
of the
me.
dirtiest player in the game."
Yeah,
Yes.
this is below me. I don't want anything to do with it. But hey, congratulations.
No, don't bury the titles.
Why they put them
Jesus.
on Shayna and Nia for the last 6 months? So
And they were a good dominant tag team. They just made them the focus of everything and not Asuka's championship. But that's the thing. If Rhea Ripley is your surprise entrant in the Women's Royal Rumble, wins the whole thing, and then decides to gun for whoever has the Raw championship, and Flair ends up with it, we have a rematch of last year, and this time Rhea can avenge that, and then it comes full circle. And then I can sleep at night. But who knows if they're going to go that way, because it's freaking WWE.
right. Bryan threw in 100 bits saying he called it. I already called that one out, but yeah, definitely. Let me get this one more, and then I want to say one last thing about that match. JNatViv777 just subbed with a tier 1. Thank you very much.
Nice. Thank you, sir.
Jay. Welcome to the channel. The last thing I want to say here or talk about is Lana.
Yes.
I don't know if there's legitimacy to her injuries yet. It just happened. I don't know. It's assumed that it's work, but I'm not sure if she's getting something done or taking a break for the holidays. Who knows at this point? But we've spent all this time. We spent the 9 weeks of going through the commentary desk. We've spent all of this time on her chronicle. We've spent all this time on her new outfits and building her new persona and this like penultimate underachiever that is finally getting an opportunity. Underdog of underdogs kind of story. And it was finally getting to the point. It was like this close to actually working. Like it was right there. And nope, as soon as Charlotte shows up, we're done. Back up, scrap it all.
But
Charlotte.
I would argue that this may have been the plan. Because what did they do with Lana? They had her beat her bully. She pinned Nia. And they were never going to put her in this title match on a pay-per-view. They already did, right? They had Lana and Asuka teaming up. Right? But now, like, Charlotte coming back is a way bigger deal. They're not going to have Lana and Asuka be the champs. We even said so. That would be laughable. But Lana did have her story conclusion. So they pushed Lana. They're getting Lana to a certain level of prominence. And they definitely brought her out of the hole that she was in after the Lashley angle. So I would say that it was mission accomplished with Lana. And you bring back Charlotte and have her be a big deal. So I actually think from a WWE standpoint, they feel like they landed the plane. Now, we can argue whether or not they did in the most elegant way. I would certainly say that it was a little cockamamie. But I would say that there's an argument to be made for them taking the Lana story to its conclusion and then having her go out and bringing back Charlotte to be the queen, to be the center of attention, which is what she is. She according to them,
and
drives the needle.
I don't debate that at all, right?
So there you go. I mean, what else are you going to do? They did have Lana beat Nia, and that's kind of that was what she needed to do in her story, right? Yeah. So who knows where it goes from here?
Kyle threw in 100 bits. He says, a cool idea they could do, have Rhea and Shotzi beat Asuka and Charlotte for the titles, causing the split. Rhea wins the Rumble, beats Charlotte at Mania, and all of a sudden Rhea is as hot as she was before last year's Mania.
That would take Vince McMahon believing in Shotzi Blackheart.
I think the first time we see that tank roll down the ramp at Raw or SmackDown, wherever she ends up going, I think that could... You don't think that's going to work?
Nope. She's the female Aleister Black.
Oh, no.
Yep.
Oh, I think she's got it way better than that.
No, he's not going to get her. Nope. I don't see it. He didn't get Ruby Riott. He's not going to get her. And he didn't get Aleister Black. He's not going to get her.
I'm going to respectfully disagree with you there.
What's with the tank? What's with the ball pit? Why do you say the ball pit?
Why are you grinding your crotch and making sparks off of a thing?
What was that Christmas video you did all those years ago?
Yeah.
Oh, I shouldn't have said that. If y'all don't know about Shotzi's Christmas video, Jesus Christ. Don't Google it.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you very much, Kyle. So we didn't call. Well, we said, Charlotte could come back, but we're not going to place our bets on it.
I didn't want to believe it.
Didn't want to believe it. Wanted to believe there was another option, but it was what it was. One thing we wanted to believe, though, was that Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns were going to go out there and put on a banger of a match. And guess what, Nick?
By God.
Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens went out there and put on a slap dang banger of a match. Good Lord. Good Lord. To try and summarize it up, They went through everything. They got hit with everything. Jey Uso died like 8 times. Kevin Owens kept killing him. Kevin Owens was booked like an unstoppable goddamn monster. He was booked like Braun Strowman who sells. And Roman Reigns was out there basically just being Roman Reigns, but he needed Jey to keep saving him. Because Kevin was up by that briefcase at least 2 or 3 times, and Jey, once or twice, Roman had to man up from some apocalyptic injuries and come back and stop Kevin Owens. And a few other times, Jey Uso had to stop him. That being said, Kevin Owens also came back from some absolutely insanely brutal spots and would come back to stop Roman. One fantastic one is when Kevin Owens could barely stand. He grabs Roman's foot as Roman's almost at the top of the ladder, and he's so spent that Roman just looks down at him and starts laughing, and then teases him enough to where Kevin punches him in the face, and then Roman just spears him through another table after already having put Kevin through like 2 or 3 tables in the last 5 minutes. This was the slobberiest of slobber knockers, Nick. This was a proper TLC match. It was carnage. It was chaos. It was just debris everywhere.
And KO delivered on his promise.
Yep.
He's going to win that championship or die trying. And by God, he all but died.
All but died. Roman had to, he kept just getting up there. Roman finally had to put him in a guillotine choke at the top of the ladder and dump his corpse off to the side into the wreckage of the Thunderdome. And Roman finally gets the championship back. But by God, these guys went out there and truly had a fantastic TLC match.
This goes in the annals of TLC matches for sure.
Yeah.
This is going to be up there. This is going to be one that's remembered 10, 20 years from now. We're going to be looking back at this one.
That being said, we're assholes. Let's nitpick. Was there too much Jey Uso interference?
Yes.
Ah, really? You felt like that was done too much? What would you have done instead?
It made Roman... It showed a vulnerability, and I'm not mad at that.
Okay.
I think it's important when you're having unbeatable monsters like Roman Reigns and the way that he's been built the last 4 or 5 months, at least since SummerSlam when he came back. It's important every now and then to remind us that there is a weak spot. There's a chink in the armor. Right. That if Jey had not been there, like you said 2 or 3 times, Kevin Owens would have won the Universal Championship.
Well, and not only that, but Roman couldn't get the job done even with Jey Uso. He had to dick punch Kevin Owens and then put him in a guillotine choke with Jey's help.
That is the one big thing that I have with this. Is just the whole thing. They just went through a war, and the whole match gets decided and frankly discarded with a dick punch.
Right, but you'd rather have Roman win straight up. Isn't that what heels do, is cheat to win? Doesn't it make... To me, it makes Roman... Like, I am not a fan of the overabundance of dick punches in WWE.
Yep.
Of low blows. And it's gotten better. We've only had a couple recently. But, and when they're used right, they're, I think, very effective. This was, I think, where they were used right. These boys just could not stop Kevin Owens. The only way Roman could stop him was just to hit him low and then choke him out. And that was the only way he could do it. He had to cheat. It makes Kevin Owens look great. We know Roman's a beast. We know Roman's like, we're not worried about Roman looking weak, because he didn't look weak in this match, even though he had Jey fighting a lot of his battles for him, even though he had to go low.
Even though he has the tiniest nipples on the planet.
Dear God, man, would you leave his nipples alone?
You'll never unsee it now. If you weren't in Discord, now you're going to understand it. You're never going to be able to look at it in it from now on.
I was so happy when Roman finally took off his goddamn tack vest. We all were. We were sitting there going, finally, Roman's torso. It's glorious. What a man. Look at this dude. Women want him. Men want to be him. And Nick comes along and goes, he's got tiny nipples. Tiny nipples.
So small.
Look at those things.
They're so small.
They're disgusting. They're like copper pennies on a sand dune. Horrible. They're like mice nipples.
It was just a random observation.
He's got gigantic pectoral muscles. Of course they're tiny.
Well,
what did you expect? Dial like dinner plates on there?
No, like average
gigantic areolas?
No. Like at the end of the match, they're raising his and Jey's hands, and Jey's got like normal size.
throbbing torpedo boobs? What did you want from him?
No, I didn't want Jinder Mahal. Never mind.
Yes.
Puffy nipples.
The lactating puffy nerps. You didn't want those?
No. But this is this is the pendulum swing in the other direction. Sorry, I didn't mean for this to go this long, but yes. You're welcome, everyone.
And yet here we are.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Thank you so much. I don't even know what we were talking about before you once again derailed everything with your talk of Roman's nipples. God damn it. Dick punches. Let's go from nipples to dicks.
Yep.
Welcome to the show, everybody. Roman looked strong in this match. Kevin Owens looked insanely strong, and that was all that I asked from this. We talked about the AJ and Drew match feeling lame duck. It felt like didn't really matter because it was this time of year. It's like, oh yeah, they're going to have a match. Drew's not going to lose. That match didn't feel like there was any tension. By God, there was 2 or 3 times this match where I went, oh my God, are they going to have Kevin Owens win it? That's the sign of a well-booked match.
Yep.
That's the sign of a well-performed match. A match done with energy, a match done with some good tension. This was that. This was that in spades. So kudos to everyone involved in this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic match.
I can't wait to go watch it again. This is this is probably the
agreed.
one that I'll probably go pick out from this show and go watch again.
And I'm not going to lie.
And the one after it, frankly.
That's exactly. You took my transition, sir. Because I was not going to just watch this match. I was going to watch the match after it. And that was, shockingly, Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt in the Firefly Inferno match, which strangely enough closed the show. You got 2 major championship matches and a grudge match between some sort of strange interdimensional demon and a guy who hears voices in his head is going to close the show.
We mocked this. We made fun of it. Like, what the hell is a Firefly Inferno match?
And we suspected, is it kind of like Undertaker and Kane, where the outside of the ring lights on fire, and every time they take a bump, there's big explosions of flames? Well, we didn't know what it was because Randy gets into the ring. Conveniently, usually the man comes out in these skimpy little trunks and boots, and that's it, covered in baby oil aside from that. But today he came out in a hoodie, a zip-up hoodie, and some nice black jeans. Very nice, Mr. Randy Orton, Mr. Randall. So he comes to the ring, and then the Fiend comes out with his entrance. No smoke for his entrance, which was interesting. But we had the full Fiend entrance. He gets into the ring, crouches down. There's a bell. They don't really announce what the match is, but they say, before they both come out, Hamilton says, it's, whoever sets their opponent on fire first wins. And we said, oh, okay, so the same rules as we suspected. The same rules from the Taker and Kane match. And when we were making our pick'ems, I said, if it's those same rules, Randy usually doesn't wear anything. How are you going to set him on fire?
Yeah.
Of course, I immediately started getting nervous because
he
Randy
came out
was
fully
clothes.
dressed.
Yeah. And oh, crap. They could set him on fire. But where's the fire? And you were saying in Discord, where's the fire, Nick? They started wrestling. And Fiend was no selling, laughing. Randy punched him. He laughed. Kicked him. He laughed. Went for the RKO. Threw Randy in the corner. Started beating the piss out of him. And it wasn't until Randy started getting some offense in that the Fiend turns to hard cam, screams, raises his arms, and the entire Thunderdome explodes in flames. I wish I was exaggerating. It was so sudden, and it was so immense that it's one of the coolest wrestling moments this year for me. My jaw hit the floor. This was amazing.
This was as big of a deal for me as almost as the first time we saw the Fiend entrance last summer.
Yeah. Not just outside the ring had fire. Outside the barricades, they had gigantic poles, like weird, creepy hell poles, scattered around the ring. They were also completely on fire. And sure enough, just like the Kane and Undertaker match, every time they took a bump or there was a big moment, boom! Gigantic gouts of flame. I gotta say, Nick, I thought the Taker and Kane Inferno match when I watched it was kind of lame. This match was badass.
This was amazing.
You even had a spot. Now, thank God they had pre-recorded this match, or they pre-taped it. It wasn't a cinematic match, but they pre-taped it, and then it played as though they were cutting it live, which for the most part, I'd say 95% of it was very well done. I barely caught any bad cuts.
It was only the one at the end that made it obvious to me.
Yeah, there was like one or two if you looked closely, but there was some crazy spots in this. Bray bringing out his old rocking chair, covering it in gasoline, sitting Randy down in it, and lighting the trail of gasoline that led to it on fire, and having Randy jump out of the way at the last second with a nice cut, but still very well done. Looked like Randy jumped out of the chair at the last second before the chair went up in flames. Nice creepy spot. You had the Fiend and Randy tussling, grabbing each other by the head and tussling over by some flames, with Randy finally reversing the Fiend and dunking him into the flames by the side of the ring. And the Fiend, his entire top half virtually covered in flames, chasing Randy back into the ring, where Randy, horrified, beats him down until he stops being on fire. And then Randy starts hearing those voices. Those voices that say, "Let's kill a man on WWE TV."
But this was after the fact that the Fiend snapped his neck in a, like, he broke his neck kind of motion. I was like, did Bray Wyatt just commit murder on TV?
He's used that, like in all of his big matches. He used it on, Finn Balor did it best. Like, it was almost like a finishing move on Finn. But he's used it on a lot of guys since, and it's just been a transitional move. So I didn't really, I just was like, Randy told like, "Ow, that really hurt. You're a bad chiropractor." But then Randy goes and gets the damn gas can that Bray used to light the chair on fire, covers the Fiend's body, lifeless body, in gasoline, and as the announcers scream at him not to, he sets the damn Fiend on fire and leaves a man to burn alive in the ring, and then gets out of the ring and does the Randy Orton pose. And we go, and then trademark, and we go to the end of the show. Holy crap. Holy crap. So
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Oh my God.
Now, what I want to know is how many times you thought about the House of Horrors match during this match.
Not once.
Not once.
I didn't think about the House of Horrors once. I didn't think about the Maggots once.
They referred to it in the video package that played a couple of times throughout the show.
They did. And I didn't think about it after that because I was too busy going, holy crap, that's a lot of fire.
Yep. Somebody's going to actually catch on fire here if we're not careful.
Holy crap, that's a lot of fire. Couldn't do this with an audience. This is awesome.
Also, we now understand why they made the very anxious move to an outdoor open-air baseball stadium instead of the Amway Center in Orlando.
That and their lease ran up because, the NBA season. But anyway, it's still they went, hey, we're in an outdoor baseball stadium. Let's blow some shit up.
Yeah, turn the pyro up to 17.
Up to 11.
Yeah.
11. And they did. I mean, it wasn't much of a match, but you know what? The spectacle of it is something I've never seen before in wrestling. They didn't even light, they threatened to light Vampiro on fire in Lucha Underground. They covered him in gasoline, and they had Pentagon Jr. hold a lighter next to his head and almost do it, but they didn't do it.
Yeah.
They finally lit someone on fire in wrestling. For like, and like not in a Mick Foley goes to the table and puts it out way, not in a grabbing a fire extinguisher and immediately put it out way, in a, oh God, they're going to let him just lie there and burn kind of way. Now, granted, when he was running into the ring, it looked like it was CGI. Pretty good CGI, actually. Yeah. I had to question. And when they actually had his body burning, it looked like it could have been a dummy that they lit on fire. It was swapped
out for a dummy. I mean, spoiler alert. Yeah. Sorry, guys. But all that time, Randy was out of the ring selling and getting the gas can and getting the match and staring at the match burning all the way down on that super long ember. There were people in there like swapping out the,
Well, whatever it was, however they did
Hollywood.
Doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is, Randy Orton won the match.
Yeah.
He set Bray on fire. There was no bell to indicate that. Luckily, the announcers were there to be like, so Randy's won.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we were talking about, this is another one where we had different ideas about. This was, I think, the one where we had different ideas about who was going to win because of the story leading up to this. So we talked about the match. We talked about the spectacle. Match was, it was whatever. The spectacle was out of this world. But the story is intriguing because we said, look, at this point, is the Fiend playing Randy Orton still, or is Randy ahead of the Fiend? And honestly, the way they left the end of this, I honestly think it's open-ended still.
I
You could
agree.
have you had the Fiend have Randy's number for the last few weeks. No matter what Randy did, he ended up in that damn mandible claw, or thinking he had escaped the time he grabbed Alexa Bliss, and he finally gets to this match, and he thinks he's won. But why the hell would the Fiend he's invulnerable, right?
Do you remember the
Why would
beginning
he
of the
just lie
movie
down and
Blade,
take him?
by the way?
Yes, I love that movie.
Me too. But there's the part where he burns one of the vampires, and they end up putting him in the ambulance, and he gets to the hospital, right?
Yes.
Before he bites the girl, and then he runs
Yes.
out and jumps out of the window and everything. That's what I want to see. I hope we get a WWE.com exclusive with like a charred something, and the Fiend is fine and still alive, and he can regenerate somehow, and he runs out laughing or sits up and just starts doing that laugh that he does.
I actually wouldn't mind if the next time we see the Fiend, he's totally fine, just his clothes are burned.
Yeah.
They're like kind of like half burned, like
Yep.
charred, But that's kind of my point here, is that story-wise, this leaves open some really intriguing possibilities. And in some ways, I think it does redeem this. Like, we were worried, like, we're Randy and Bray, they're going back into the territory they were in their last feud. This makes it feel more like, yeah, Bray still could be playing Randy. And this brings me to something else, is we're pretty sure we're going to Randy and Edge by WrestleMania. That's 4 months.
Correct.
Okay. Now, you could
That's an eternity in WWE time, though.
Sure. You could, like I said, you could conceivably have Randy and Bray go through for the next 3 months and just have Edge jump back in at the end.
We built the greatest wrestling match ever in 3 weeks.
Right.
Earlier this year.
But what do you do with Randy and Bray after this? If Bray ultimately destroys Randy Orton or takes him out or whatever, he's just playing with Randy. His whole purpose is to destroy Randy, right? That's his whole purpose. You destroyed my house, Sister Abigail, who I was. I'm going to destroy you little by little, right? If so, when does he do that? And if so, what is left of Randy for Edge to pick the bones of? Or think about the last thing that Edge said. I'm going to destroy you, Randy.
Oh.
I'm going to pick you apart piece by piece, little by little. I'm going to take you apart until you're nothing left than a husk. I'm not saying that Fiend and Edge have the same end goal.
They have never been seen in the same place at the same time.
I'm just saying. Edge does have a pretty dark vampiric past. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Throwing it out there. They do listen. If you want a cool story possibility, WWE, just throwing it out there.
So in their first encounter 4 or 5 years ago, Randy dug up Sister Abigail's grave and burned down the entire shack. Their second encounter 5 years later, Randy actually sets him on fire and burns him alive in the middle of the ring.
Yep.
Where do they go from here? How do you one-up this?
Right. You have Randy do a Firefly Funhouse match like John Cena, but then what's left of him? You know what I mean? There are places to go from this. How messed up is Randy going to be in the head when the Fiend comes back from being burned alive?
Yeah, he's fine. He's going to be fine.
That's what I'm saying. So I've been reinvigorated with the Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt program. It was a damn cool finish to this pay-per-view. And Nick, overall, what were your thoughts on this pay-per-view?
Over-delivered from my very somewhat low expectations going in. I quite enjoyed it. It was snappy for a 3-hour pay-per-view, 4 if you count the pre-show, but it was. I like these 2 to 3 hour programs that they've been doing. Second half of the year. It's nice. It's not a 6-hour slog like a lot of pay-per-views can be.
It's breezy.
It had a really nice pace to it. Short of the couple of moments, there weren't really any kind of down moments throughout this thing. I mean, I certainly have my opinions about the women's tag team match.
But even that was a fine match.
And it even had its spots and moments. We got Charlotte Flair doing not only a moonsault, but the figure eight and a natural selection again, showing all of her flair again. So at the end of the day, I actually really liked this pay-per-view. I'm going to rank it pretty high on the year. because it was kind of a down year given everything going on in pay-per-views and whatnot. But this, we were skeptical on the shows leading up to this that they have just not booked anything. And what in the hell are they actually going to do? Why don't we have any tables or chairs matches? We just have 2 TLC matches. You know what? I ain't mad at it anymore.
I'm not mad at it either.
I like the bookending mechanism where you put one at the beginning and one at the end.
It's called Hell in a Cell. You have 2 Hell in a Cell matches. You don't have a couple of cage matches.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at it.
Nope.
I wasn't mad at it. This match, this show, as you said, all solid matches, some great matches, some fantastic, very memorable moments. One TLC match that right now I'm going to say was a true great TLC match.
Yeah.
So yeah, and we said when we were doing our pick'ems, look, this has the possibility. #skeptically optimistic. This has the possibility of being a low key great pay per view, and I would say it was B+, at least.
Yeah, I mean, I'd give it an A-. That was solid.
There you go. So
I mean, the only thing was that women's tag match having a few disappointing moments in it for me, but that was it.
This is a B. Yeah, this is a B+ for me. It would be an A- in the Tokyo Dome. but ultimately
What do you think Cornette's going to say about the Fiend getting set on fire in the ring?
Oh, geez, that whole match, the Cornette's going to.
He's going to go apoplectic.
He's going to set himself on fire.
Right, he's going to self-immolate.
Yeah. Watch the YouTube little cover card for his show about this will be him on fire.
Right.
Him spontaneously combusting.
Yeah.
But no, ultimately we got to pick'ems. We only disagreed on one match, and it came down to just where they wanted to go with the story.
Yeah.
Randy Orton won. I felt like that's where they needed to go with the story. Have Randy Orton win this, but not really win it, but not really win it, if you will.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they did. The only one we got wrong was that women's title match or women's tag match, simply because we didn't want to take a chance on Charlotte Flair coming back and winning it with Asuka, because we felt like that was insane WWE booking, but that's what we should have expected because we watch enough of this stuff. We should have known that by now, Nick. But that being said, good times all around. Really a lot of fun in the Discord. It's been a lot of fun right here on Twitch. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with us right there. Everyone listening to us later, thank you guys for tuning in and checking it out. We hope you enjoyed TLC as much as we did. If you didn't watch it, we hope you enjoyed this show. And since this is our last show of 2020, I'd like to officially say F 2020. But also, thank you, everybody, for helping us out this year, for hanging with us. We know we had some crazy sidesteps technologically, but we really appreciate you hanging in there with us and being with us all through this year and being so generous and being so wonderful and such a positive, amazing group. We couldn't do this without you, and we are absolutely blessed to have each and every one of you. So thank you guys so incredibly much. We hope you have a wonderful holidays and the rest of this year.
Yeah. One more bits dono I got to call out real quick. Will James threw in 100 bits. He says, best wrestling thing about 2020, WWE pay-per-views not exceeding 3 hours outside of the big four. Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. We're getting into that 2.5-hour takeover territory.
Delicious.
So, thank you very much, Will, and thank you to everybody who threw in some bits. Crazy hype train to kick off the show. All of the gifted subs and everything. I mean, it was absolutely amazing today. Thank you guys so much. Thank you to everybody for all of the tips and donations and support.
And everyone who's asking about Dog Ziggler in the chat there.
Yeah, they were saying how he liked the show.
I don't know. Ziggy. He's fast asleep back here.
Yeah.
Ziggy, come here. What do you think of the show? He can't be bothered. It put him to sleep. He's exhausted.
Just that last match is just absolutely exhausted.
Yeah.
Well, while I'm doing the outro, see if you can wake his ass up to come wish everybody happy holidays. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. And as Ian said, thank you so much for an amazing 2020. Even in the times and the conditions that we've been through this year, it has still been an absolutely phenomenal year with all of our phenomenal ones. Thank you guys for all of the love and support, all of the financial support, everything across the board. Please help us get the word out about the show. We'll be back. I think it's January 4th is the actual date.
Yes.
No, the 5th. That'll be the Tuesday, January 5th. Will be the first day back, so we will see you guys covering Raw from January.
And Wrestle Kingdom. Oh my God.
It's going to be a good time. 2 more nights at the Tokyo Dome, ladies and gentlemen. Coming up in about 10 days.
Okada versus Ospreay. Ibushi versus Naito.
Make sure you're following us in all the places. You guys know where they are. You can find links to it all down at the bottom here on twitch.tv/bustedwideopen or over at bwopodcast.com or pinned across our social media profiles. If you'd like to get on some patronage, some exclusives, you can head over to patreon.com/bwo where you can get audio-only versions of the episode to add to your podcast player of choice. You can send us patron mailbag questions starting at the beginning of the year next year when we come back. So for the month of January, you can get right in on that. Let's see, bonus episodes at the $10 tier, like almost 3 years worth of bonus episodes, almost 30 episodes, I think, at this point, of bonus content that you will immediately get access to at the $10 tier. All kinds of good stuff over there at patreon.com/BWO. Don't miss getting signed up in January either, because that is Royal Rumble month, and we will be doing the BWO patron pick'ems for Royal Rumble. So January is the month to sign up if you're not signed up quite yet.
Oh, my Royal Rumble pick'ems. Oh.
But it has been a hell of a year. We're going to get out of here and go have a nice holiday break, take a couple of weeks off. Best wishes to everybody and your families throughout the holiday break. Please take some downtime to recharge your batteries. Do the best you can. Please stay safe. All of that good stuff. Ian, any final words?
I've said my piece. I love you all. Thank you very much. Happy New Year. Thank you all for your support and sending the love out to me and my family. I appreciate it more than you guys know. All the love back to you all and all your families, and happy holidays. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you in the new year.
Yes, and my name is Nick Howell. You can find me on Twitter at DataCenterDude.
And I am Sir Ian Dangerous. You can find me on Twitter at Sir Ian Dangerous.
But by God,
would somebody stop the damn match?
This show is part of the Orbital Jigsaw Network. For more episodes, subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher Radio. For details and show notes from each episode, check us out, orbitaljigsaw.com.